playing an instrument, dancing. So when you start doing that activity, you get into a flow, and then nothing can distract you from that activity. Like you're so focused on doing that you do not know, like you just cannot unplug, right? And that flow is reached when you're really enjoying what you're doing and you're operating in something called your Goldilocks zone. So now really to get into the flow, it takes you like 5-10 minutes to get there, right? And at that point, the best way is to keep away all the distractions as far away as possible. And like so when I was in New York, I was working in Goldman and JP Morgan and Chase. So when I used to do my morning commute, that was my best time actually, because there was no internet connectivity and all I could do was read. So there were no distractions. Nobody was pinging me. Nobody was saying anything was urgent, and I could just keep all my time for reading. So that is the best way to deal with focus or concentrating on a task, is to move away distractions. And number two is also it sets you in a wrong mood. So for example, if you're checking somebody else's stories, it's not going to help you, and it's going to set your mood for the day in a certain way, and then you're going to be like that for the whole day. I'm sorry, I took a lot of time answering that, MJ, but hopefully I was able to touch a little bit on your question. I think MJ left the room. I think that was a very long answer.
Yeah, I guess so. So thanks a lot, ma'am. That was a great insight. And yeah, I think you were just saying that you have a little bit of content created yourself. So you can just go ahead with it, and then we'll open for the questions.
So yeah, Vivek. So I did talk about that content a little bit, and when I was talking about the Goldilocks zone, and some of you might know it, and some of you might not know it. So I'll just explain that concept to you a little bit, right? So meaning that, for example, there is a task, right? And the task is just say x plus y is equal to z. You're just doing a summation, right? And it's very easy for you. So your brain would not be as involved, all right? So your brain is thinking, okay, this is very easy, I can do it, so let me be distracted. The second zone that you can operate on is something which is higher difficulty, so much more difficult for the brain to understand. For example, it's like a partial differential equation, right? And if you have not really gone from a simple addition onto regular calculus onto that partial differential equation, then your brain is thinking it's too difficult for me to solve. I will never be able to solve it. So what is the point? So let me be distracted. So in the middle, you have something called the Goldilocks zone, where you have the skills that you are required to solve the problem. The problem is challenging enough, but not as challenging that your brain kind of checks out. So that is the idea of the Goldilocks zone, and that is the idea of deliberate practice also. So there is a very good book. It's called Talent is Overrated, and I know there are two schools of thought. One which says that talent is everything, and somebody is more talented, and that is why they are so much more better. And there is another school of thought which says that hard work will beat talent if talent does not work hard enough. So where do you operate? Where do you see yourself? And if you are in school of thought 2, which I would really recommend you to be, then you will always have to be operating at your Goldilocks zone. So something which is out of your comfort zone a little bit into your effort zone, but not too much into your effort zone that your brain tires out. So that is how you look at deliberate practice or becoming better at any skill of your choosing day over day.
Right, right. So that sounds pretty amazing. I guess at this time everyone should follow this zone, right? So I was wondering, like, right now there are a lot of people, even students, who are like living alone right now in this lockdown, and because of there is no medium for traveling and stuff, so they can't go back to their loved ones and all. And most of the students don't have much things to do. So how should we manage our mental state when like we are living alone? Like, what are the tips you want to give to them?
Right, Vivek. So let's go point by point, right? And let's start at the top, which is at the beginning of the day. So I think time after 12 a.m., it makes a hell lot of difference. So even if you're sleeping 10 hours in that day, you would wake up like more drowsy, if you're sleeping after a certain point in time. So you do have to maintain a schedule to maintain your mental state, even in terms of lockdown when you're, operating at that. And I know it's difficult to be disciplined to sleep at a certain time because we are hooked to our screens and technology at random times, right? And we sleep with our phones by our side and we wake up with our phones by our side. So the second thing that you can do is not look at your phone at least 30 minutes before you go to sleep. Not look at your phone and not look at your Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those kind of things. Because if you've noticed, what you sleep with is what are the dreams you're getting. And your subconscious is highly activated right before you're going to sleep and right after waking up. So you don't want to feed it with kind of garbage, right? And when I say garbage, I mean looking at other people's stories. What are other people doing? You wake up and first thing you're doing is scrolling your phone and looking at stories like Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, and all those kind of things. So it obviously puts you in a bad mood. And then you kind of carry it on to the entire day. So in order to maintain your mental state, the first thing you should do in the morning, ideally, I know a lot of us don't do it, is actually be mindful or meditative. And if we are not doing that, if we're choosing not to do it, then we do something which is productive. So we can also do exercising, or we can do something productive, which is, anything maybe creative. If you're writing, then maybe you can write. If you have to work on a project, you can work on a project, because early in the morning is the best time to do it. And generally we spend it on things that are not meaningful. So when you get your first hour or the 2 hours in the morning right, then you're set up for success. Then you're already thinking, okay, I've achieved so much, I've done so much already in the day. Let's see how much more I can do. And even if not, right, even if you're tired by 2 p.m., let's say, even then you have had a pretty good day, and then you can do a little bit of relaxation in terms of watching Netflix and Amazon Prime. So those are a few things that you can do to really set up your day for success and be in a positive state of mind, not look at news first thing in the morning, right? Like what is the COVID-19 count? If you look at it in the morning, that count is not going to change, but your state is going to change. So you can manage your state, but you can't manage COVID-19 number of cases. And you can look at it at like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. once you're done with your morning of the day. So those are a few things that you can do to, manage your state during a lockdown. And we have like extended it for 2 more weeks right now. So
Right, right, totally agree. And there was another question from Simran, that how do I stop negative thoughts from taking up my mental space?
right. So negative thoughts. And I'll tell you a story which is very famous in Buddhism. So, for example, so there was this Buddhist master, Zen, and there is this professor visiting him, right? And this professor wants Zen master to teach him a few things. So the Zen master invites him for tea and asks him and like gives him the cup and says, please hold this cup, and starts pouring the tea. So he pours and pours and pours till it's full to the brim, right? And so then the professor is saying, there's no more space, right? And how will you pour more? So he's like, exactly, right? And so that is what happens, right? And I want you to think of your brain as kind of a fertile land. So you can choose to plant poison also, plant negative thoughts. Then it's going to return you negative thoughts more and more. And what is also happening with our Buddhist story is that now you don't have space to put in the positive thoughts, right? So that is why it's important to focus on positive. Now, anything when we look at darkness and light, and we say that this room is really dark, and I ask you, Vivek, can you help me like remove this darkness, right? And you would say, what does that even mean, right? It doesn't mean anything. So you light up the room. So in order to stop focusing on negative thoughts, you have to start focusing on positive thoughts instead. That helps you change your state, right? There are so many good music like videos available that you can look at, which puts you in a great state of mind. And I'm not talking about the regular like Yo-Yo Honey Sing and all that kind of music, right? So I'm talking about the good music that puts you in a good mood, and then anything that helps you be creative. So some of us are interested, as example, in drawing art. Some of us might be a singer, or might be playing instruments. So anything that puts you in a creative mood, it's going to help you put you in a positive mood. And that is how you create space in your brain for like positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts. And that is a great question, Vivek, because sometimes we get so engrossed in in these negative thoughts, right? And it's just fear of basically nothing, and it's kind of fight and flight response for something which has not even happened yet. So we should be mindful of that.
Right, that was awesome. And the music thing is the one thing that I do personally to like light up my mood. Right. So we have another question from Vyalin. He says that mental health and stability of mind can get unstable because of different reasons in this lockdown and not because of using the usage of phone daily. What should a person do in that situation if he is not affected by the technology but he is affected by other things, might be family or personal relations or anything?
Sorry, I think, can you hear me, Vivek?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, so if you're Yeah, so if you're getting affected by some personal relation, like personal things happening in because everything is ecosystem, right? And we are working in an ecosystem, so you have you and you have your external things, and generally it's the external things that is affecting you, and that is why you kind of feel the way that you do. So basically, I'm saying technology is one thing that I was recommending, but primarily what I was saying was that we should not focus on negative things first thing in the morning. And what happens is that our brain processes a lot of information early in the morning, right? So you check a WhatsApp message early in the morning when even you are not conscious. You are still in between of being sleepy and being awake completely. So in that state of mind, if you read something, or if you talk to someone, or if you do anything, if you read a piece of news, it's going to affect you more rather than if you were in your reasonable state of mind, in your logical state of mind, and then you do it. And by following a schedule, all of this can be kind of maintained. But again, in order to the best advice that anybody can give you is exercising. Like exercising solves 90% of the problems generally. So I know we don't have access to exercising equipment, at least outside. So what we can do is at least take a walk around the nature, if that is possible in wherever is it that you are, right? We can just take a walk, we can just run, or get us closer to the nature. And the second thing that we can do is also work out at home if that is something that is possible. And if we are staying alone, then I do see that YouTube offers a wide variety of workouts that are available. So we should take advantage of that and we should use it to exercise and be better at home. So those are the two things that you can do. And again, so just managing, we have to realize, and it's same for love, it's same for jealousy, it's same for anger. It's your body which is producing those chemicals, like nobody else is doing it, right? It's your body, and that is why it becomes your responsibility to manage that state. And that can be done by training, and I'm not saying that right after this talk you would be able to change your state very quickly, but you can start learning how to change your state. And that happens via creation, like you can do something creative. And that is why people say get into a hobby, do something that you love as a hobby. Getting on a schedule, sleeping on time, waking up on time every day, like not waking up at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., 12 noon. So those are a few things. And we think that these are external stimulations for our internal unhappiness, but generally we have a lot of control on how we let it affect us. And exercise is going to play a huge role. Like if you exercise for 1 week continuously every day for like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, then you're going to see a huge difference in your coping mechanism on every day. Like for example, if your boss says something to you right now, it might be taking you, I don't know, 2 days to get over it, right? But if you're exercising on a consistent basis, it will take you, you will still feel bad. I'm not saying you will not feel bad, but it will take you 10 minutes or even 15 minutes to get over it. So it's just the difference in the time that you are required to react to it. Hopefully that answered the question, Vivek. Otherwise, we can elaborate on that a little bit, the question itself.
I guess, yeah, that was enough, I guess. And Vyalin, if you have, like, if you got your answer, then please comment below, and ma'am will be happy to explain it more if you want to. So there was another question from Palak, and I guess it was the same question that she gets really annoying at some time, and she gets irritated at nothing. So I guess, yeah, that was just the same question above one, right?
Yeah, that's right, Vivek. So it's just
Yeah.
exercising, and YouTube has a lot of videos, like so many. Yeah.
Right, right. So, there is another question, that is expecting things from people you love wrong, because it always disappoints you, but it's also human nature to expect things which eventually leads to breakdowns. What are your views?
Expecting things from others. That's an interesting question. See, I can tell you like the diplomatic answer to that, right? And it is like, yes, you cannot expect something from somebody else, right? And but I know i- we as humans, for example, in close relationships, we do expect, for example, our partner or our parents or our siblings to do certain things for us. And sometimes it becomes more difficult when we are not like receiving that. So I think the idea and what I have followed personally in my circle of trust, like the people that I trust the most, and I would be really unhappy if something didn't happen right with them, is honest communication, right? And see, no, nobody's a mind reader. Nobody can tell exactly what you need at what point in time, and which is kind of silly also. So sometimes when we are younger, we get into this tendency that, our partner or our girlfriend and boyfriend should understand us so well that they should do what we need without us telling them. And I think that is a wrong expectation. So we have to set the rules at the onset of what are we expecting the other people to do. And if it is not clear to them, then we make it abundantly clear for them to understand that these are our expectations from this relationship, and this is what I would like to work on. And sometimes those might lead to altercations as well, but it's better than, having deep rooted insecurities and deep rooted things like, oh, you didn't do this for me and I expected you to do this for me, but you never told me that you want me to do this, right? So having a clear communication protocol with your circle of trust, people who you want to be in your life, uh, makes a lot of difference. It makes a lot of sense in open communication lines. And yeah, so I think that is it. And definitely I know principle of reciprocity says that if you do something for someone, they are obliged to do something for you as well. But I think we should do something for someone because it's the right thing to do, not because we expect them to do something. Like it's not a transaction based relationship anymore, right? And we should always do what is right, but in the realm which we consider to be our personal boundary, to be accurate. And we should obviously have more communication and open communication protocols and not expect other people to be mind readers and expect them to know everything what we desire from them.
Yeah, so I guess that answered Simran's question, right? Yeah. So another question is that during this lockdown, like many students and like young people are getting afraid about their future. Like, what would they do in as their jobs and stuff? Cause in my college itself, there was a lot of placements, but now the companies are like holding their placements now. So, what do you think? Like, will this lockdown affect the job opportunities, or when the lockdown opens, when the this virus goes away, the job opportunities will be go straight up or not?
Right. So, Vivek, on that question, I'll tell you, business, I'm putting my consultant hat on and I'm telling you, recession comes every 8 to 9 years, right? And right now, 12 years as a bull market, which means that we have seen an expansion in the different indices across the world. That is the first that we have seen. This is the longest bull market that has ever been. So if you look at 2008, there was a recession. If you look at 2000, there was a recession. 92, there was a recession. You go back, right? And every 8 years, 7 years, you go back, you see a recession. So it's like a business cycle. So business goes up and business goes down and business goes up again, which means, and recession, I will just tell you, it's defined as if your GDP contracts for 2 consecutive quarters, then you say it's a recession. So it's a lagging indicator of your quantity. Now that being said, every recession will be followed by an expansion, and that is what we have seen in the past. Last 100 years since the indices have been put into place, right? And you see there has been a recession and we have seen expansion after recession. So in the latest one, 2008, 2009, when there was a recession, and I graduated 2010 from my engineering degree. So I kind of graduated into a market which is similar to today. So it was also a recession market. But then but I saw tremendous growth opportunities because I came right out of recession, right? And how from where I'm seeing, and for example, even in 2011, 2012, if somebody put up a new business, they made like the probability of succeeding was higher than putting it at some other time, right? So businesses did very well. If you're building something that adds value, you're doing very well. You're going to do very well. So we shouldn't fear that, we might not get a job, or if we will get a job or not. We should always keep on upskilling ourselves. And by upskilling, I mean hard skills, right? I don't mean soft skills. Like anybody can communicate effectively if taught well, but hard skills, really, if you're into technology, then learning a new language. If you're in data science, then learning some new technology, like, right, some platform, etc. So it gives you an added benefit in terms of going into a job market with stronger resume. So I do not see this as, something that we should be scared of, but this is an opportunity if we really take good advantage of it, right? Yeah. So we should, and we should not worry about if it's going to be affecting our jobs or not. It's going to be fine. It's more likely it's going to be fine, because if you just look at the dynamics of this recession, right? It's not that restaurants don't have money, that's why they can't operate. It's just that because they don't we are in lockdown, that's why they can't operate. And when they open, everybody's going to go back to the restaurants and everybody's going to go back to the malls. It might not happen right away. It might happen like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months down the line. But when you look at 8 months period versus a 40-50 year career that you're going to have, it doesn't even matter. And if you spend that 6, 7, 8 months learning new skills and upskilling yourself to really deal with the new normal, then you're going to be way ahead in the curve.
Right, right, agreed. So, yeah, Dipesh, do you have a question? Dipesh, if you don't have a question, please mute yourself. Ma'am, I was asking, like you said, that you have to like stand out and stuff. So, what do you think, like during this lockdown, young people like me and Dipesh and Palak and Gitansh and Simran, what should we go into more, like more as a soft skill kind of thing, like to develop ourselves personally?
Right, Vivek. So, are you asking from a soft skill perspective, or are you asking for a from a hard skill perspective? Because right now I do not really know what your different and you all of you can have different backgrounds, right?
Right,
So
right. So
I don't know
my
exactly.
my question was bit of a general question, like to how to like stay at home, but also like develop your personality. Like, what are the things that you do or you suggest, like watching some good YouTube channels or watching some good reading some good books. Like reading books does help, but how much more? What more can we do?
Right, Vivek. So I'll share with you something which, I've not shared with a lot of people, and it's if you do it right, it's going to really help you uh, do a lot of things better, right? So we read all these personal development, self-help kind of books, and these are basically make for a very easy read, right? So if you've read these books, they're written in such plain language that we can read it in 4 hours or 5 hours, right? So we sit on a weekend and we finish the book cover to cover. But that is not the right way to read a personal development book. And I'll tell you why. Because what happens is you read, right? And then I make notes and, I highlight and revise that one chapter again. And then I do not read the second chapter right away. I take 1 week and try to see what are some things in my life that I can change in in reference to the chapter 1 that I've read. So try to inculcate the good habits that are given in the book in my life. And that is how it's going to help you in your life, because it's not a reading contest, right? It's not that you're going to get a prize if you read so many personal development self-help books a year, but how many are you able to live in your day-to-day life? So there is, and all these books, for example, if you look at Anthony Robbins books, right, Unleashing the Beast Within, it's going to it's a life changing book. If you get it right, it's going to change your life. But if you read it in one sitting, not likely so, because you won't even understand half of the things that he's saying. And he has taken a lot of time to write that book, and that book has a lot of concepts, but we generally make it as an easy read, and we don't actually inculcate it. So that is something that you can do while reading a book. And I know sometimes it's difficult to put a book down, but it is what it is. Like, if you want to make good use of that book, then you have to read it again and again and inculcate it in your life. And definitely YouTube videos might help, but it can be a hit or a miss, because YouTube is full of, people who are making videos at home, right? Like I do, but they are not generally well researched, and they kind of spread the wrong message sometimes and all those kind of things. So that is also, I do not recommend it. It's okay if you want to see like 1 4 minute 5 minute YouTube video a day, but not more than that. And if you do want to follow like good learnings, I know it might be too early for you to get into all this, but for example, some spiritual leaders really talk about the good learning. So once you understand all these personal development self-help books and you've had enough experiences, then all of what these other people are saying also starts to make sense. So I would not even recommend just, for example, looking at Sandeep Maheshwari, right? And it will give you motivation for like 2 hours, but doesn't really help after that. So something to remember.
Right, right. So by this, I came across some another question is like I like scroll LinkedIn like for an hour or two, and I can see my friends and their friends like uploading their certificates of Coursera and Udemy and many more certificates, like random certificates. I don't know if it'll even benefit them in the future or not, but they are just doing their courses and uploading the certificates. Do you think like just doing the certificates and like having actual knowledge and actual practice, like what is the difference? Like they are just boosting up their CVs, but they don't have any practical knowledge right now.
Right. So for example, what I would do, and it's a difficult approach to take, and that is why not a lot of people will do it. So what we do as at Udemy or Coursera or all these kind of platforms is we take tools, right? We build tools. So for example, if you I gave you a hammer and you don't even know what to do with the hammer, then it's kind of useless for you, right? So we can be learning as many tools as we want, but if we do not know how to practically apply it, it's not going to be very useful and you're not going to stand out from the crowd. So when you go for an interview and they ask you certain questions and you will be able to answer those questions, but it doesn't really tell the interviewers about your job readiness. So the approach that I have taken in the past, and I've interviewed with some companies, and what I did was I created a proof of concept kind of app on so for example my field of learning, at least in technology, is data science. So I created an app, and it's not live and not nothing like that, but it just has like some very basic functionality. And so for example, I interviewed with some of the few product manager kind of roles, and instead of going over these tools and all these concepts, what I do was I take out my phone and I just show them the app, right? And this is what I've developed, and this is what I'm thinking about, and this is how I've thought about it. And it is a very novel approach. So I do recommend that in order to build on your hard skills, you should rather be looking at some applied stuff that you can be doing. And for example, my sister right now just graduated from Harvard, and she's in education sector, right? And when she goes to interviews, she doesn't go with her tools. Like she has built her own set of products which she's taking with her, and she's showing everyone that I've built this product which I think will be beneficial, and this is how I've thought about it. So which is a very novel idea on how you think about things, and not get bogged down by what everybody else is doing, right? And some certifications might make sense. For example, CFA is a very heavy certification. FRM is a very heavy certification. You have other certifications which might be very as heavy. For example, some colleges might be offering some data science course or machine learning course. But apart from that, I do not see a lot of value added in terms of getting certificates from the online learning platforms, at least. But that is my personal opinion. Maybe some other people see it differently, but that is what I would personally do.
Right, right. Even I
Hey,
had the same opinion. Yeah, Dipesh.
ma'am, may I audible to you? Ma'am, I wanted to ask you that, ma'am, actually I'm pursuing CA right now. So, ma'am, is there any way to earn also while doing CA? Actually, I want to support my family also financially. So, is there something matlab, like that I can earn good amount and I can go with my CA easily?
Right. So, Dipesh, I have not worked with a lot of CAs, so I do not know exactly if there is a way to earn, but I'm sure a few of my friends actually are in the And with CA, you learn a lot of like financial statements and balance sheets and all those kind of stuff, right? So a lot of people I know actually write for these different kind of blogs, which provide knowledge in terms, right? And I'm sure you can look for it online, for example, on search platforms like Google, etc., and see if there are any content writers kind of opportunities. And that would help you with a few things. Number one is getting your is articulating your things right in a meaningful manner in written context. So if you can write well, you can do a lot of things, very well. So it will help you with that. And then you can also just use your knowledge that you're gaining while studying for CA, and get into the content creation. And then there will be a direct link between what you're offering and versus what you are kind of learning also. So, and the best way to get started on that is like WordPress, for example, provides you free services to write blogs, and you can create your own blog there so that people can see your work, and then you can start building your portfolio and kind of showing it to different people and saying that I can do guest contribution or contribution articles, etc., and then take it from there. Does require a little bit of work, but it helps you prepare better for your learning and to be out there.
Right, right. So I hope Dipesh you got your answer and I hope you like explore about it more. So I guess yeah, we can wrap it up here. And guys, if you have any question, you can connect with ma'am on Instagram or LinkedIn, anywhere you like, right? And I guess the crux of the whole session that I got is if you apply the knowledge, then only you will be successful and then only you will be good enough in this lockdown. Anything, any closing thing you have to say, ma'am?
Thank you, Vivek. I think it was really nice talking to you, and I hope I could give you some value of the 1 hour that you have given me, and I'm really thankful that all of you took some time and it like plugged in to listen to what I have to say. And definitely, connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not very responsive on LinkedIn because I do like my job stuff on LinkedIn. So on Instagram, I'm a little more responsive. So do connect with me there. And yeah, I'm hoping that it was a little useful for you. And yeah, it was nice talking to you guys.
Really, ma'am, really. We know that you have a very, very hectic schedule, and it was awesome that you like gave 1 hour to us. And thanks a lot, ma'am. And hoping to have more sessions with you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you, guys. If you have any question, you can connect with ma'am on Instagram.